Hey everybody, this is Mrs. Molino reading our last close read, which is Thomas Paine about common sense. This is for Thursday, the 26th March. I talked to Mrs. Phelan. She had said that none of these back pages that I've been reading you actually have to do. So if you did them, great. We can work out some extra credit of some sort when you turn them in. But I'm not going to read this page because you don't have to do it. All right. On the back of the reading are the questions. I'm going to go through and read them. Number 1 says, why did Thomas name one of his pieces, that looks like places, the American crisis? Include the facts from the text and what you already know that helped you make your inference. So you're going to have to look back specifically in the text when it talks about this and try to figure out why would he pick that as a name. Okay. Number 2 says, what is the main idea of this text? Which details are the most important to the main idea? Include at least 2 key details and explain why they're important. So you're going to have to figure out the main idea of it, what it is all about, and then what details support it. Okay? Probably use paragraph numbers, like in paragraph 1. Right? Number 3, it says, how did Thomas's common sense affect colonial feelings toward the British Crown? Cite evidence from the text in your response. So how did him writing this affect how the colonial people felt towards the British? Number 4, what did Thomas mean by, quote, these are the times that try men's souls? Include context clues from the text that help you determine the meaning. So you're trying to figure out what does he mean by that phrase or that sentence. Okay. Think about the George Washington article that we did on Monday, and how George Washington read this to his men at, during that winter, that they didn't have any food, they didn't have any shoes, that type of thing. Why would that be important? Okay, what did he mean by it? Number 5, how does the author support the point that Thomas was a very influential writer? List at least 2 supporting reasons. Cite evidence or proof for each reason from the text. So why was he a good writer that could take and make people think a certain way or agree with him or disagree with him? Okay, what makes him a good writer? All right, so let's get reading this. First paragraph says, Thomas Paine was a very influential writer who convinced many colonists to rebel against the British Crown for freedom. He was born on January 29th, 1737 in Thetford, United Kingdom. Thomas struggled to maintain jobs in England as a young man. He met Benjamin Franklin in 1774. Benjamin advised Thomas to move to America for better opportunities. Thomas arrived in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in November of 1774. Thomas landed his first job with the Pennsylvania Magazine the following January. He performed editorial duties. So he was the person that went over the newspaper and looked at all the articles that people were submitting to put in it and that type of thing. He also began writing articles anonymously, which means that he wrote articles to put in the paper too, but he didn't write down his name as the author. Second paragraph. Thomas's arrival in America came at the perfect time. He was an advocate for freedom, and the colonists were becoming increasingly dissatisfied with British rule. 5 short months after he arrived on American soil, the battles of Lexington and Concord took place. The Revolutionary War had begun. Thomas believed that America should revolt against British taxation and demand freedom from Britain. Thomas began writing his most famous piece, Common Sense. This pamphlet was printed in January of 1776. Thomas was a very skilled writer. Colonists who read the pamphlet were compelled to make an instant decision to either remain under British control or to fight for independence. So his pamphlet that he wrote was written so well that people could decide right then and there that we should either stay under British control or we should go against it. So common sense forced the colonists to see the seriousness of the situation and prompted discussion among them. Thomas was able to encourage colonists to join the Continental Army through this peace, and many colonists who were previously undecided before, they joined the Patriots. Common sense prepared the colonists for the Declaration of Independence, which would be written later that year. Thomas continued to write during the war. He became a personal assistant to General Nathanael Greene and traveled with the Continental Army. Many colonists fought to help them continue fighting. I skipped a line. Many colonists fought the British with guns, not Thomas. He wrote inspiring pieces that were read to the soldiers to help them continue fighting. That makes more sense. General George Washington ordered one of Thomas's pieces to be read to his army when they were being beaten badly. The American crisis began with the famous words, quote, "These are the times that try men's souls." These words inspired the troops to continue fighting for the cause even in the worst of times. Thomas accepted a position as a clerk of the General Assembly of Pennsylvania around 1779. He quickly noticed that American troops were facing difficulty because of law pay and scarce supplies. He started a drive in Pennsylvania and France to raise needed supplies and funds. His efforts were paramount to the success of the Patriots toward the end of the war. Thomas recognized what could be accomplished when many people worked together. He wrote Public Good in 1780. It called for a united nation that pooled its resources for the well-being of the entire nation. Other notable figures led the revolutionary efforts with their speeches or by fighting battles. However, Thomas was able to raise an awareness of the need for independence from Britain and lift the spirits of the soldiers through his pen. Again, if you guys have any questions or anything, please let us know in the comments, or maybe through Teams, or when we meet together again through our Zoom conversation, and I can help you out, right?